Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to another episode. Today I'm joined by some random homeless girl I found off the streets, Amanda Johansson. Today we're going to dive into kind of an influencer discussion. I'll kind of share my perspective to lead things, and then I'll probably grill Amanda on some interesting questions. But something, from the brand and agency perspective, influencer marketing has been kind of the Wild West. And you don't know what influencers actually have a real following. You don't know like how the engagement's gonna work. It's very oftentimes transactional, or it's just brand, agency, influencer. It creates really poor relationships across the board, which creates poor content, which creates poor results. So it's a systemic issue that's kind of affecting the entire industry, because then they get spurned by influencer marketing, they don't come back, so then influencers get less opportunities. But I think there's multiple levels of like what is an influencer.
Next stop, River Market North. Doors open on the left side.
Sorry, she's cutting me off. It can certainly be multiple tiers, but I think there's also multiple layers. It's not just about the following you have, it's about the community really you have, because the community is what's actually going to result in sales and transactions, which is why brands are going to pay you. You could have only 100 followers, but if it's hella loyal community, that's going to be more beneficial than someone with 100,000 that doesn't have a loyal community. And obviously Amanda is a really good example.
Connections to KC, bus services and bike share.
Amanda's a really good example of someone who has a large following and an incredible community, but it's important for you guys to know that creating content, which you obviously should know if you follow TrndsttrsMedia, is difficult. But the community building aspect, the community management is equally. So let me ask you this. What is the actual time, energy, and efforts that it takes to build that community? Like responding to comments, responding to messages, responding to people's craziness that tends to happen. I know there's some incredible stories, so.
Yeah, no, building a community is so important. And I think a lot of influencers don't understand that. Like, they can have a following and not even pay attention to their fans and followers. And they're not gonna be loyal if you don't reply to your comments or go live with them, or the smallest things, give them shout outs or repost them on your story. All of that stuff really builds your community. And when they know that they can count on you for supporting them and they support you, it's a win-win. So.
Yeah, the number one rule I think in community building is understanding that it is kind of a two-way conversation. And if you're just putting content out there and expecting people to like and engage on it, once you're at a certain level, certainly you can do that. But particularly in the early stage, you didn't just roll out the gate and start pushing content, getting millions of comments. What it took was the foundational responding to everyone, responding to every DM. Then you get to a certain level and you're like, I do not have time for this. Mm-hmm. But until you get to that point, community building. I also think there's different dynamics of influencers or thought leaders. So obviously Amanda's ridiculously popular on the majority of the consumer social media platforms, TikTok #1, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, so on. Whereas I have no following on those, but I have a strong following on LinkedIn, but comparatively it's a lot less of following, only 44,000. So when you compare it to that, I think influencer and that terminology, and same with thought leader.
Next stop, River Market West.
It can mean a lot of different things, and it doesn't have to be siloed out to just being very well-known celebrity across all channels. It could just be a small following on a social network. It also can be offline. It doesn't have to happen within within a social media thing. It could happen with you hosting networking events, or you having your own company and community, on a group or something of that nature.
KC Streetcar.
So I think it's vital to know that when it comes to approaching influencer marketing.